Welcome to the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. Practical and actionable steps that you can take to help manifest the greatness that you already possess deep inside. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, where we explore practical and actionable steps that you can take to help manifest the greatness that you already possess deep inside. Now, on this podcast, we talk a lot about personal development. We talk a lot about goal setting, right? We talk a lot about putting plans together so that we can achieve the things we really want to achieve in life. And this is great. This is all so critical to us, to getting the most out of our everyday, to really help push us forward, to go for what we really believe in and to live true to our beliefs and our values. Today, I want to talk a little bit about how we can expand what we consider fulfillment into a greater pursuit, a pursuit of a greater good. Simon Sinek has a brilliant book called Leaders Eat Last. And in that book, he talks about the differences between the rush of joy and pleasure that we receive from two specific hormones. One, dopamine. A lot of us are very familiar with dopamine, right? We think of dopamine oftentimes in the context of this feeling that we get when we're close to achieving something that really matters to us. And then this feeling that we get when we achieve it, right? This feeling of, yes, we've done it. Like it's a boost of purpose, a boost of energy from it. We feel high, right? We get this high, like some people talk about runner's high, right? So this is a feeling that drives us to continue going after what is important to us. And it's great. The problem with dopamine, though, is that it's fleeting, right? Whenever we get this feeling of accomplishment by achieving a new goal, we only experience that feeling of accomplishment for a short period of time. And then we find ourselves looking for something else that we need to go after, right? A new goal, a new carrot, right? So that is how dopamine works in our system. It's a hormone that pushes us to get to what we really want. And when we achieve it, we get another hit of dopamine. And then as it fades, we need to look for something else to fill that void that we feel after we come down from that high. Now, when we, of course, we're living in tribes and hunting and gathering and all that stuff, and we would go out and we would hunt our prey, or we would go out and we would gather fruits and vegetables and things like that back in the nomad days, right? This dopamine would drive us to achieve these goals, right? We'd get this rush, this feeling of we're going after something that is really important to us. And the closer we get to whether it's the prey we're trying to hunt, or we're climbing a tree to get some fruits or whatever it is, and it's just within reach, we're almost there, that dopamine drives us those final steps when we feel like we've got no energy left, but we're so close, right? And then we get it and we get another rush and it's just a great feeling. And then we need to find another thing to chase, right? Now, there's a second hormone that Simon Sinek also references in his book, and it's called oxytocin. Now, oxytocin is more related to that warm and fuzzy feeling you get when you do something for someone else, right? When we help someone with something difficult, when we comfort someone who's in pain, when we help someone through a difficult situation, when we're trying to help someone who can't do it on their own, right? We get this great warm, fuzzy feeling, right? That's oxytocin. And now there's a lot of differences between dopamine and oxytocin, but one of the main ones is that oxytocin is a feeling that is sustainable, right? It's a feeling that, as long as we're out there on occasion doing good things for other people, if we're showing our compassion, if we're getting involved, right? Volunteering or assisting others in need, if we're doing that on some sort of a regular basis, we're always going to feel that. And we don't have to be doing it 24/7, but when we do it regularly, that hormone stays with us, right? So we could be eating dinner and feeling a sense of calm and peace because of what we have done during that day and how it helped other people. It's a warm feeling we get that stays with us for quite a while. Now, just to be clear, both dopamine and oxytocin are critical for us as people, right? These are both hormones that we need to stay healthy, and they both serve us in different ways. Now, what I want to talk about today, though, is how dopamine, if we think about it and break it down, we can think of dopamine as dopamine. This is something that drives me, right? It drives us individually. And of course, we need that to reach our goals. However, we want to also be able to have an impact, right? An impact on those around us, an impact in our local community. And I've talked about this as well. So one of the things that can cause all kinds of problems for anyone, addiction can happen when we require something, and it doesn't have to be a substance that we're addicted to. It can be an activity. I'm sure you've heard the term workaholic, right? Now, the truth is, a workaholic is not addicted to work. They're addicted to the dopamine rush that they get from pursuing something that they want to complete that's important to them. So people who are addicted to these, personal goals or professional goals, whatever they may be, that can really put a lot of stress on us. And it's never ending. It's a high, it's a low, it's a high, it's a low. So it can be very stressful over time, right? When we're constantly pushing ourselves to the limit, that can take a toll on us, both mentally and physically. Now, oxytocin is generated from, as I was mentioning before, doing things that involve assisting other people or showing our compassion. And the interesting thing about oxytocin is it is an energy giver. We receive energy from activities that generate this hormone in our system. So if you've ever noticed, then when you really feel tired or exhausted and someone comes to you with something that they need help with, you find a different type of energy. It's not an energy like, I have to get this done. It's an energy of, wow, this person is really going through something difficult. And you feel yourself energized to be able to help another person get through something because you see in them a struggle that you can relate to, right? Maybe they're doing something that is that matters to you, and you want to see whatever it is that they're trying to do, you want it to be a success, right? That is a much more sustainable energy source for us as people, right? And when people talk about a legacy, some people may not be interpreting what that word means correctly. Sometimes people say, yes, I'm going to create a legacy, as if dynasty is the same thing as legacy. That is not the same thing. A legacy isn't about the person and how great they are, right? It's not about their accomplishments. It's about what they leave behind for others, how they served when they were around. A legacy outlives you, right? So a legacy is something that cannot be achieved on dopamine alone, basically, because you can't be constantly trying to do things that are important to you and leave behind a legacy. A legacy comes from doing things that are important to people you care about, that are important to your greater community. And what can make this a challenge, especially today, is that it's very easy for us to work in our own circles, our own little pods, if you will, right? We can work from home, we can work in smaller groups and impact many people, right? We can do something online and we can see the data showing how many people we've influenced, right? Like on social media, we can see all of the likes or whatever. We can see the impact we're having in terms of numbers. Those numbers give you a dopamine hit, right? The numbers, the data give you a feeling of accomplishment. What is hard to see in the data, though, is how you are really impacting people, right? Yes, a like is a like. Someone gives you a thumbs up. What does that really mean, right? It's an abstract value. And it's the same thing when we talk about data in businesses, right? When we talk about data in terms of growth for a company, we talk about revenue, right? Those are numbers, and we don't see the impact those numbers have on people unless we really drill down and unless we really reach out and get an understanding, right? If we run a store, and we're selling ice cream or something, if we're never going out and interacting with the people who are buying the ice cream, if we don't see the faces of the people who are smiling from buying our ice cream, then all we see is the number, right? We see data on a spreadsheet, and we're making decisions based on those numbers. And those numbers are abstract. We can't emotionally attach to anyone. We can't get a feeling for anyone when we're just dealing with numbers, right? And it goes both ways. So if you are in a business or you're reading the news and a business lays off thousands of people, that's a lot of people, right? And it's like, wow, a lot of people were impacted by that. Now, if your sister got laid off, there's an emotional attachment, right? Now it's like, okay, how do I go out and support her through this disappointment? What about her kids? How can I help with that situation? Is she going to be able to stay in her house, right? It becomes very personal. That is what I'm talking about when I say a greater good. That's what I mean about being involved in something that is greater than yourself, right? Dopamine is not going to drive you to help your sister. That's going to be oxytocin, right? And that's a greater purpose than yourself. You're going out of your way to try to positively impact someone else's life. Now, when you're dealing with data, right, it's abstract. So 1,000 people get laid off. You don't know how that is impacting everyone at a personal level. So there's this distance, there's a dissonance between what you are seeing on paper because you're looking at how it impacts a business. It's like, okay, we got rid of 1,000 people, our bottom line is going to improve, at least for a little while, right? Because we're not even talking about the longer term impacts on the business, we're talking about fixing something short term. And with the ease that we have in today's world, when we can go and do so much without interacting with people directly, it can be very easy to not connect with the people that you are having an impact on. So I wanted to mention this because it can be easy to kind of not see this when we're working from home, when we're doing these videos. I'm creating a podcast right now, for example, right? So I'm creating content. I'm sharing this content with you. I have no idea how this is going to impact you personally. I sincerely hope it has a great positive influence on your day, on your outlook, on your approach to certain things in life, maybe your mindset. Maybe you get a positive boost from hearing some of these ways that you can change the way that you're thinking a little bit and to positively impact your daily life. But I don't have an opportunity to actually sit down with you and hear your feedback, right? And hear how this is actually impacting you. I don't know your name, unfortunately. I wish I did, but I don't know your name. I don't know where you live. I don't know where you work. I don't know how many kids you have or if you have kids or anything that you're going through personally. This is something you can only get from personal contact. And with that personal contact, it's reminding you of your humanity, right? And that's the thing that gets lost with data. It gets lost when sometimes we're focusing on our own personal, professional, even our fitness goals. It's great. Yes, we all want to be healthy, but how does that impact other people? If we can turn these pursuits that we have or augment them, we don't have to change them. We don't have to stop doing what we're doing, but to balance them, to make sure that the things that we're doing, that there's a good percentage of what we're doing that we know are directly impacting others for good, because we take the time to actually get involved in those relationships, in the community, right? It makes a difference. I remember this past year, I was involved in a political campaign here locally on the island of Hawaii. And what fascinated me about that experience was not only was I able to support someone that I truly care about, that I think has a wonderful vision for the island, I was able to meet other people who also supported what he was doing. And we were able to work together and drive something bigger than ourselves forward, right? That was the beauty of that. And there were times that I'd be finishing work and I'd be thinking, oh, great, I have to go out and hold up banners and I'm tired. I had a long day at work. I'd rather just stay home. But then you get out there, right? And this is the magic. You get out there, you're with others who also are taking the time to be involved in something and to drive something forward that's bigger than themselves, right? That oxytocin starts flowing. That's not dopamine. That's not a one hit and you got to find that feeling again. That feeling of being involved in the community, right? That feeling in being involved in something greater than yourself, a greater good, being involved in pushing something forward that means more to other people as well as yourself. That is an actual energy generator for you. So I went out tired. I came back feeling really good. So it's amazing. It can help push you forward when you think you have no energy, but that feeling stays with you. It stayed with me through dinner. I got a good night's sleep thinking about the people that I spoke with that day and how we were able to share stories and how I got to understand some of the other things that they were going through and how we had conversations about how we could perhaps support each other, aside from all of these other things that we were doing, trying to help drive this other larger involvement that we had, driving that forward for the campaign. So it's really important that we get involved and we get out there and we actually interact with people, because when we are behind these screens, when we're behind this data, dopamine, like I was saying before, dopamine, right? And the issue with this constant me, just not seeing the greater purpose, the greater good, and the greater impact of what you're trying to do is that you end up with a scarcity mindset, right? It becomes you versus them. I've worked in businesses that had an environment like this. I worked at an investment bank, and although there were some great people that worked there that I got along with, the environment itself was quite toxic when you think about how people who wanted to advance were constantly pitted against each other, right? And when we talked about goals for the company, oftentimes the goals just came down to numbers. They came down to, we want to be the best investment bank, right? We want to make the most money. We want to have the most clients. We got to win. But that's not really a greater good, right? There's nothing in there that kind of makes you go, I see how I'm positively impacting people. It's hard to stay motivated about that forever, right? And if you think about it, it's often the companies that provide a very high dopamine hit that pay you a lot of money because they know it's not sustainable. It's easy to get involved in something that makes you feel warm and fuzzy, right? How many charity organizations or how many government programs or nonprofits or anything that's humanitarian related, right? How many of those types of organizations are offering six figures for people to come over and work for them, right? They don't have to, because they know people feel good being involved, and they know that they feel that they have purpose and they have worth, and they take that feeling home with them and they're proud to be associated with it. Not only that, they believe in what that organization stands for, and they know that they may not live to see that organization accomplish what they ultimately want to accomplish, right? Say it's an organization that wants to end hunger. Maybe that never happens. It likely will never happen. But the idea that you are involved in a organization that has the objective of constantly working to better that situation, right? Make it easier and easier for people to get access to food, to get access to the nutrition that they need. So we're at least working on stomping out malnutrition and reducing starvation. That's a long-lasting goal. That is a greater good. It's something that you can work towards. You may ultimately never see the end of it, but your involvement in it, your involvement in that is creating a legacy, right? People, after you leave the organization, after you leave this earth, they will still be benefiting from your involvement in this greater good. And that organization will continue on. And that is what your involvement is helping to assure, that that organization will continue on and be able to continue to support and provide for and ultimately continue to drive towards this greater good. That is what I wanted to talk about today. Those are types of greater goals, greater purpose. These are the types of goals that we need to be making sure we're incorporating into whatever our personal goals are, whatever our professional goals are. We don't stop. Like I said, that's important. That gets you through some very difficult days. It keeps you on track. That keeps you pushing forward. It can keep you thinking about all of these things that you really want to get out of life. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, that alone can be very lonely. And also, that's not going to create a legacy. So make sure that you're incorporating greater goals into your personal and your professional and your fitness goals. Make sure that you are also including something greater than yourself in your strives for excellence, right? Make sure that you've got some balance with those hormones, right? You got the dopamine, but you got the oxytocin as well, right? That warm, fuzzy feeling. You're showing your empathy, you're getting out there, you're supporting, helping to create, helping to drive forward things that are bigger than yourself. You're helping to secure your legacy, right? But that legacy lives on after you. So these goals that we have for ourselves, our fitness goals, they end with us, right? Our personal goals, they end with us. Our professional goals, they end with us, unless we're able to somehow take those goals and make sure that we can include at least some of the efforts that we have in whatever area of our life they may be, that we're taking some of that and we're applying it to a greater purpose. So that's what I wanted to talk about today, and that is my challenge for you today as well. Think about your goals that you have now and make sure that you're incorporating into your personal, professional, health and fitness goals, whatever they may be, that you're incorporating a greater goal that includes not just you, but it includes a greater good, a purpose larger than yourself that will outlive you, that is something that you feel just honored to be a part of and to be able to participate in and to be able to help to drive forward for the benefit of others that will be able to benefit from your efforts long after you leave this earth. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast, and I look forward to spending time with you again on an episode in the near future. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Manifest Your Greatness podcast. If you liked what we've explored on this episode, then you'll love the Manifest Your Greatness coaching program. The Manifest Your Greatness coaching program is uniquely tailored to help support you on your journey to become the absolute best version of yourself. So if you are committed to taking the steps required to significantly and permanently level up in any area of your life, visit manifestyourgreatness.com/contact. Again, that's manifestyourgreatness.com/contact and schedule your free consultation call today. Talk soon.